Today on TimesCast, Mitt Romney is officially running for president for a second time.
Barack Obama has failed America.
Fighting rages in Yemen, threatening to close the main airport. And economists predict that job growth was slower in the month of May.
Here we go, spade with glove. Hey, here we go, right over here.
This is Mike Shear with the caucus at the New York Times here in Stratham, New Hampshire, where Mitt Romney is announcing that he will run for President of the United States.
I'm Mitt Romney. I believe in America, and I'm running for President of the United States.
In the speech, Mr. Romney criticized President Obama's leadership over the last several years and cast himself as the turnaround expert best poised to repair a damaged economy.
Starting and running businesses for 25 years, turning around the Olympics, governing a state, have helped shape who I am and how it is I lead.
But Mr. Romney will have to prove that he can generate enthusiasm among Republicans in his second bid for the presidency. Do you buy the argument that he's got a problem with enthusiasm?
No, I think at this point in time, every candidacy is in its incipiency. What gives enthusiasm is winning. It gives gravitas. It creates excitement, and you can't start to win until you start to vote. So we're in this strange period. Today marks the beginning of the letting go of the control of the primary process, the nomination process, from the small group of sort of involved insiders and opening it up to a much wider population.
Mr. Romney's speech was partially overshadowed Thursday by the arrival in New Hampshire of Sarah Palin, the former governor of Alaska. Her One Nation bus tour, which she has said is not necessarily a prelude to a presidential campaign, arrived in New Hampshire a day ahead of schedule, just as Mr. Romney was giving his speech. Ms. Palin is scheduled to attend a clam bake in New Hampshire Thursday evening.
After 4 months of protests in Yemen seeking to bring about democratic reform, the conflict turned into fighting, and now Yemen is tipping towards civil war. At the core of this is whether or not the president, Ali Abdullah Saleh, steps down. On several occasions, he has offered to sign an agreement that would transition him out of power, only to back down in flaming tensions. The fighting today occurred on the outskirts of the city, which is right near the airport. There were some reports that the international airport had to be closed. Others said that it had not actually been closed, but nevertheless, it was enough to prompt concerns for travelers. My colleague, Nasser Arabi, is in Sana'a, and we talked to him about the scene there today.
During the daytime, it's almost normal. You can see people moving and shopping. But at night, it's very dangerous. You can't see people, you can't see cars. You just hear bombings and explosions. And they can't go outside at home because you know that there is no police who can protect you, and anyone can attack you. We have been now in these protests for 5 months now. These 5 months divided people. These 5 months classified people. Sometimes in every house, you find people with Saleh and you find people against Saleh. But they don't want Yemen to collapse into chaos. They don't want Yemen to slide into civil war because the big beneficiary will be Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is waiting for this golden chance.
The jobs numbers are coming out tomorrow, and a number of economists have ratcheted down their estimates for how many jobs the United States economy created in May. The number that a number of people have been putting out is somewhere around 170,000 jobs added on net. That is obviously a positive number, and jobs added rather than jobs lost is a good thing. But that number is also significantly lower than the growth we saw in April, which was 244,000 jobs added. The slowdown in job growth that's expected has been attributed to a lot of recent events in the news. That includes the tornadoes that have hit the Midwest, which put a lot of people out of work and shuttered businesses, as well as the relatively recent tragedy in Japan, which not only took a lot of lives, but also disrupted a lot of economic activity. Auto manufacturers in the United States might have had disruptions in the kind of supplies that they were getting. So there are a lot of what economists like to call temporary factors that may have thrown the economy off course. Part of the reason these news events seem to be factoring into economists' models much more strongly than they might otherwise is that the underlying growth rate in the economy has been relatively weak. Usually after a sharp recession, you see a very nice bounce back in the neighborhood of 6% GDP growth or thereabouts. We've been seeing more like 2%, which would be fine if we were in a normal state of the economy. But because we lost so much ground, it's actually quite disappointing. And as a result, it seems like it doesn't really take a whole lot, a sneeze as opposed to a gust of wind to make a big dent in what economists are expecting for the economy going forward.